Hi everyone, my name's Haley and I'm an educator at San Diego Audubon Society, where we study birds, other wildlife, and their habitats. I'm joining you today from Tecolote Canyon Natural Park, located right here in San Diego. Now, if you've never been here before, the park is actually pretty close to your school, and it includes about 7 miles of trails and is home to all sorts of interesting plants and animals. Over the next 3 weeks, I'll be joining you from different parks around San Diego to introduce you to some of the wildlife here in our community for our Outdoor Explore program. This week, we'll be learning all about birds. From common birds you might see in your backyard to raptors or faster moving birds you'd see flying way in the sky. Next week, we'll be learning about native plants and pollinators. And then week 3, we'll be learning about water quality and some of the freshwater lakes and rivers here in San Diego. So let's get started with this week's lesson all about birds. Make sure you have your worksheet and a pen or pencil so that you can follow along. Birds come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Some birds are small and brightly colored, while other birds are larger and more camouflaged to help them blend in with their surroundings. Let's take a minute to learn about some of the adaptations or the different body parts that birds have to help them survive. We've all seen them, but when we really think about them, what makes a bird a bird? Birds have special adaptations or body parts that make them different from other types of animals. On your worksheet, go ahead and list 2 special body parts that make birds unique. One of the most common adaptations of birds is that they're covered in feathers. Feathers can be soft and downy to keep a bird warm, or they can be stiff and strong to help them fly. Some feathers help a bird to camouflage or blend in with their surroundings, while others have feathers that are bright and bold to help attract friends. Another special adaptation of birds is that they have beaks. Beaks help birds eat, and the way a bird's beak looks tells us a lot about what kind of food it eats. Some birds have long, curved beaks for digging in the dirt to find insects, while hummingbirds have long, thin beaks that act like straws to suck nectar out of flowers. Other birds have hard beaks for crushing seeds and berries. Another adaptation of birds is that they have unique feet for their environment. They come in all different shapes and sizes. Some of them are long and help them navigate through the mud, while others are sharp and strong to hold on to their prey, and some even have webbed feet that look like paddles to help them swim. Now that you've learned about some of the adaptations of birds, let's get creative by designing our own bird species. On your worksheet, you'll notice a section where you can create your own bird. You get to decide what size it'll be, what color and what shape, and what adaptations it needs in order to survive. You can imagine that it lives here in Tecolote Canyon or somewhere completely different. It's up to you. Once you've finished, we'll come back together and learn a little bit more about a really special group of birds, owls. Tecolote Canyon is home to many different birds, but it's a particularly great place for us to learn about owls because the canyon itself is actually named after them. The Kumeyaay word for owl is tecolote, and this canyon was first explored by the Kumeyaay people many years ago. Now, there were probably different species of owls living here in those earlier years, but nowadays, Tecolote is home to this super cool species, the great horned owl. To learn more about these owls, let's turn now to the experts at National Audubon and Audubon, Pennsylvania, where we can actually meet one of these great horned owls.
I'm Christine with the National Audubon Society, and today we're going to learn all about owls with our expert, Carrie Barron, who's with Audubon, Pennsylvania. So we actually have 2 amazing owls with us today. Could you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure. It sounds like Odin's telling us a little bit about himself. This is Odin. He's a great horned owl, and he is a full-grown owl. This is him at his full size. He lives at the John James Audubon Center, and he is non-releasable. So he can't live in the wild, and his story is that someone took him out of his nest when he was a baby and raised them for 2 years to be a falconry bird. After that time, they didn't want him anymore, but he was imprinted, meaning he'd been too used to being handled by humans and around humans that he can't be released into the wild. So there's nothing physically wrong with him. He is amazing at flying. He has a huge enclosure back at our center, and so he's just a great example of what a amazing bird of prey looks like.
Owls are one of the top predators. So what makes them such amazing hunters?
So they have a lot of the same characteristics of any bird of prey. So things, whether it's a hawk or a vulture or an eagle, they have sharp beaks and razor sharp talons. And so those are very common in any bird of prey. In fact, if we want to look at their talons right now, this is a great horned owl foot.
These are very sharp.
They're very sharp. This is what's going to be able to come down out of the sky and grab their prey and then take it usually up into a tree, sometimes stay there on the ground. But as you can see, they kind of have 3 toes or talons in the front and 1 in the back. And this makes it very effective for grabbing their prey.
Now it's your turn to test your knowledge of owl anatomy. On the back of your worksheet, you'll notice a picture of a barn owl. This is a different type of owl than the great horned owl that we met earlier, but they have a lot of similarities. So go ahead and fill in the boxes with the anatomical parts or the body parts listed in the word box above. It's okay if you're not sure about them all. Just do your best, and then we'll go over the answers all together as a class once you're done. Great job figuring out the different anatomical parts of your owl. Let's go over some of these adaptations to make sure that we understand them all. So the first one that really stands out to me are the eyes. Owls have great eyesight, but as you remember, they're nocturnal, so they hunt at nighttime. And this is why their eyes tend to be so large. This also means they don't rely just on their eyesight to find food, but also their hearing. So owls have very different ears than us. On either side of their head, they have a small ear hole. Now one is a little bit higher than the other, and that helps them to determine which direction a sound is coming from. Another special adaptation is their neck. You may have seen in movies or cartoons owls rotating their head all the way around in a circle 360 degrees, but that's not actually entirely true. So owls are able to turn their necks 270 degrees, which is a lot further than we can, but I can't quite go all the way around in a circle. Owls also have strong legs to help them stand up in trees or on the ground. And if you look closely, you see that they even have talons on the bottom of their feet. So these are used for grabbing onto their prey, and they tend to be pretty sharp and strong. That way owls can actually pick things up without even having to land. We also can see their wings and feathers. All owls have wings and feathers, but they come in different sizes and colors. The barn owl that we've been labeling has brownish gold feathers on its body, and then lighter colored, almost white feathers on its face. But if we think back to the great horned owl that we met earlier, its feathers were much darker. So owls' feathers tend to be different colors, kind of depending on where they live and maybe the type of leaves and trees that they need to blend in with in their habitat. So pretty soon, you'll be starting your first Zoom lab with an educator from San Diego Audubon. This week, we'll be getting our hands dirty as we participate in an owl pellet dissection. An owl pellet is all the parts of an animal that the owl couldn't digest, such as fur, bones, teeth, and nails. Let's learn a little bit more about owl pellets and what we can expect for this activity from National Audubon and Audubon, Pennsylvania.
Why do owls make pellets?
Sure. Well, So owls, like this long-eared owl I have right here, eat other animals. And so they can eat a wide range of animals such as squirrels, things that are smaller like mice, they eat snakes and other birds. And when they eat them, they can't digest everything. They can only digest the meat inside of the body. And so what ends up happening is the fur and the bones or whatever they can't digest actually comes out in something called an owl pellet.
So it's like barf, basically.
It's basically owl barf,
Okay.
yes. And don't worry about it because we've actually sanitized this owl barf, so you can totally touch it. This came out of our great horned owl. So this is a pellet the size that a larger bird, larger than this long-eared owl would have. And this is a pellet that something small like our screech owl, Scooter, is going to come out of its mouth. So you can see there's a difference in size based on the size of the owl.
Yeah.
They look different.
Yeah.
And that's just
This one's white.
Yeah, and this one's a little bit darker. It's based on the color mouse that they ate. You ready to dig in and see
I'm
what
so ready. So we just use our hands?
Yeah, it's easy.
Cool.
It's easiest just to pull them apart, and so I usually just dig in there.
All right.
And
I feel like I'm about to dine on.
looks
dine on some
delicious,
cuisine.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
First thing I do is kind of open it and just kind of spread the remnants on the
I see bones.
Right? I know. It's very quickly that you'll start to see bones. You know, a owl this size or Odin might eat 4 mice in one night. So you might have multiple skeletons in one pellet.
Okay.
So it wouldn't just be one complete skeleton.
How often do they make these pellets?
They regurgitate once a day. You just never know when it happens. It's usually about 10 hours or so after they eat. But every morning we go in and we find these, and then we use them in classrooms.
I hope you're excited because soon enough, you'll get to do your very own owl pellet dissection. Each of you will get your very own owl pellet. Now don't worry, these have been sanitized so they are completely safe for us to touch. But we'll also be giving you a pair of tweezers so you can use these to kind of pick through the different parts. You'll also be getting a small tray, which you can keep at your desk and use to hold the different bones, teeth, and fur that you find along the way, as well as an additional worksheet, which will tell you a little bit more about what your owl may have been eating. I hope you enjoyed learning all about birds with me here today in Tecolote Canyon, and we'll be seeing you again soon for your owl pellet dissection. Until then, you can finish up anything you might need more time with from your worksheet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.